work well.
Does it work? All right, we'll
It's
do.
loud, though.
We'll work it.
It's super loud.
Welcome to Milford's April 16, 2019 Planning Zoning Board meeting. If you can, please rise for a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call from my left?
Good evening, I'm Brian Collegian.
Nancy Austin.
Tom Panzella.
Peggy Kearney.
Bob Sadie.
And I'm Carl Moore, acting chair in place of Jim Quish, who's not here this evening. We are also represented by Meg Green, secretary and board clerk, and David Sulkis, our city planner. And our first order of business on the agenda this evening is new business and old business, which we have none. Our next item on the agenda is a public hearing, which should be closed by May 21st, 2019, and voted on by July 25th, 2019. It's 25 Meadowside Road, 830G, Zone R12-5, petition of Thomas B. Lynch, Esquire, for special permit with site plan review for 830G, affordable housing on map 35, block 432A, parcels 4A, 5A, and 6, of which GAMS LLC is the owner.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Just for the record, my name is Thomas Lynch. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Lynch, Trimbecki, and Boynton. My office is located here in Milford at 63 Cherry Street. And I'm here tonight representing my client, GAMS LLC. Three of the principals of the company are here tonight, Angelo Lisi, his son Sean, and Greg Field. My clients are no strangers to this board. They've been residential home builders and commercial builders here in Milford for over 35 years. Over the last 2 years, they have successfully developed two projects brought to you under the Connecticut Affordable Housing Act, the property at 14 Gulf Street, which speaks for itself. It's a beautiful addition to that area. There were three dilapidated residences that were demolished, and the project was built on site. And then last year, the property at 178 Seaside Avenue, similar situation with a piece of property where a dilapidated house was removed, and again, that project speaks for itself. There were a large number of neighbors that were here for that project during the course of the public hearing that voiced opposition. And I'm told from my client now, when he's on the site, they all come to him and they say what a beautiful project it's turned out to be, and it's a fine addition to the neighborhood. So we like to bring to your attention the fact that these applications that are brought to you sometimes create some comment from neighbors, but the end result is that they do enhance the neighborhood, and they provide a vehicle to meet the state goal of providing affordable housing in towns such as Milford, where 10% of the housing stock is not dedicated to affordable housing. So this particular project is located at 25 Meadowside Road. It's a fairly large piece of property. It's almost an acre and a quarter, and my clients are proposing to build 15 one-bedroom townhouse units on the site. I'm going to turn things over very shortly to Ron Wassmer of Connecticut Civil Group, who has done the engineering work and the site work. He's going to walk through the site plan with you. But as I said, this project will envision the development of 15 one-bedroom units. There's some 45 parking spaces that are provided on site. Each unit will have a garage with a parking space in the driveway area in front of the garage, and then there'll be 15 spaces off away from the units that'll be for visitors. The plans were reviewed by David, his initial review. He has a staff memo that he's supplied to you, and I'm sure that he's going to be making his own comments on that. But subsequent to David's review, the plans go to all of the city departments. All of the city departments have reviewed the plans and approved the plans. So, again, your packet should have notations that on March 22nd, the Sewer Commission approved the hookup of this property to the city's wastewater management system. The Tree Commission on March 4th issued a letter approving the project. They made a comment that they wanted 2 sugar maple trees moved away from the driveway, so that is going to be accomplished. I think the site plan was amended to address that comment. At its March 2019 meeting, the Police Commission, based upon a review from Patrolman Dan Hemperly, head of the Traffic Division, made a recommendation to the Commission that these plans be approved. He noted in his report that there's adequate parking on site and that the sight lines going both east and west coming out of the project onto Meadowside Road have sight lines that exceed industry standards. And we're going to supplement that with our own traffic report that's been prepared. David Spear hopefully will show up. If not, his report is part of the file. I can summarize it. He was scheduled to be here, but it is that report is part of the file. On March 7th, Anthony Fino from the Fire Marshal's office reviewed the plans specifically to make sure that the access way provided on site for fire apparatus meets their standards. There was a full review of the plans. There was a comment that he had made about having some notations on the plans address load carry over part of the drainage area. Again, Ron addressed Anthony's comments and revised the plans. So once they were received, the report was then amended to issue a final approval of the plans from the fire department. Greg Podlutsky, our city engineer, reviewed the plans. Again, there were 2 comments relative to stormwater drainage calculations that he wanted Ron to do. The plans were amended, and it's noted in his report that he is in favor of an approval of these plans. Lastly, every time that you submit an application pursuant to the Connecticut Affordable Housing Act, by statute you have to compile a affordability and marketing plan. I did that. It was submitted to David and then forwarded to Sheila Dravis of the Community Development Office. The purpose of that review is to make sure that the rent calculations that are set forth therein meet the current standards for calculating the rents based upon the statewide median income versus the Milford median income. I will just note, again, the affordability plan is part of your file, but based upon those families whose incomes meet the 60% standard of the Milford median income, family income, the rents for those units would be $849.50, and for those families that meet 80% of the median income guidelines, the rents for those 2 units would be $1,076. There will be 5 units set aside per the statute. 2 of them will be for families meeting the 60% income standard, and the other 2 would be for families whose income meet the 80% standard. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Ron, and he's going to go through the specifics of the site plan.
Good evening. For the record, Ronald Wasmer, professional engineer, land surveyor, 158 Research Drive, Milford. I'll walk you through the plans. Plan in front of you now is the site plan SP1. The property fronts on Meadowside Road. It's adjoined by some residential properties to the east and to the west. It's somewhat of an odd-shaped property. It's relatively deep, and there's a additional section over here in the northwest corner. You can see Lakeside Drive up here at the northwest end of the property. The property doesn't actually touch Lakeside Drive, but it's in close proximity. We have a driveway 28 feet wide coming off of Meadowside Road. We have a duplex unit closest to the street. It matches more or less the frontages of the two adjoining houses. And then we have an additional duplex behind that one, and then 4 duplexes along the northeast property line. Along the northeast is a additional 830G that was approved by this commission probably about 24 months ago. We do have 1 triplex here in this rectangular area that we talked about before. This is a landscaping plan, so we're providing street trees in accordance with Milford's street tree requirements, as well as some screening plantings, some arborvitaes along the 2 residences here, a row of mixed evergreen trees, arborvitaes, spruce trees along the rest of the property. We have a proposed fence also going in as a privacy fence. Grading and drainage plan. This was prepared and reviewed by the city engineer. The topography is relatively gentle sloped. It slopes from the north down to the south towards Meadowside Road. It works well with typical engineering principles. The driveways are about 1.5–2%. All the sewer and storm drainage is served by gravity. We have on-site storm drainage that was reviewed by the city engineer and found to be acceptable. The sewer connects to the municipal system. The storm drainage also has a connection to the municipal system, and we're connecting to public water. All the additional proposed utilities, electric, cable TV, phone, are underground. This is a utility plan. It just simplifies some of the other utilities. Again, electric, phone, cable TV are underground. We have a couple of transformers located within the site. Illumination plan, we're proposing a street light down close to the driveway intersection to illuminate the driveway intersection. 3 additional lights in the parking lot to illuminate the parking lot. This conforms to your illumination requirements. There's no light trespass off of this property onto the neighboring properties. The fixtures are LED, which is common these days. Erosion control plan is part of your site plan approval requirements to ensure that during construction there's no erosion or sedimentation to the municipal system or adjoining properties. We have an anti-tracking pad that prevents vehicles from tracking dirt out onto the site, as well as silt fence to be constructed around the site to prevent erosion or sedimentation onto adjoining properties. We've indicated a couple areas to stockpile topsoil during construction that will then be spread back out for landscaping purposes. There's a narrative that describes the activities. This is an existing condition survey. There's an existing house on the property now, fronts on Meadowside. The rest of the property is vacant and it's a lawn area. These are some of the standard details of the various civil items, sidewalk details, tree planting details, some roadway, driveway details. This was a plan that the city engineer asked me to provide after his review to demonstrate that there was no conflicts with utilities. Again, you can see the site slopes from the north to the south as indicated in this profile view. Everything has a good design flows. These are the architectural plans prepared by Greg Grew. This plan in front of you is the duplex plan. These plans are very similar to the architecture that Greg and Angelo built at Gulf Street as well as 178 Seaside Avenue. So if you can picture them, that's what these are like. This is the one triplex plan. So we do have a garage on the first floor and a utility room. On the second floor, there's a kitchen, dining area, and bedrooms on the third floor. This is the elevation view of the duplex, typical townhouse style architecture. So we have a front view, side view. Again, a rear view and a side view. This is the triplex. That concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I'll turn it back over to Tom. I believe it's, is that David?
It is David.
Our traffic engineer arrived.
All right. So our famous traffic engineer has just walked in, who went over to the Parsons building rather than coming here, so. Are you all set? Okay. You have just a moment.
Can I just, for the record, my name is Dave Spear, Principal Engineer with DLS Traffic. I have an original for your file. If you like it, I'll give it to you. That's all right. Give me a moment to catch my tape. That's the resume and that's the report. We were asked to look at this application from a traffic point of view. We understand there's 15 townhouses proposed. We've done a number of traffic studies in the area for various projects for Angelo. And they build a nice townhouse complex. So we looked at this site in particular. We had counts already from our prior studies, so we were able to put it together. And we checked it's a very small traffic generator. They're generating less than 20 trips an hour during either peak hour. And there's really absolutely no capacity issues. And the sight lines are good. The speeds are good for the sight lines are good for the posted speed limit and the travel speeds. There's no significant accident history. And all things considered, there's really no traffic issue here. So I'd be available to answer any questions you may have. That's all I have.
I think we're good for now. We just have comment from staff before we go into any questions that we might have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes our presentation to you. And as I always do, I just remind you of what your charge is under the state statute on a file submitted under the Affordable Housing Act. The applicant comes forward with this application, and absent any compelling health and safety concerns that are raised in the application, the board is basically bound to approve the application. The burden shifts to you. And I just remind you of that. I think this is a straightforward project. It's fairly low impact in terms of the size of the property, the number of the units. Traffic impact is minimal. And I think with the reviews from all the city departments, as well as our expert traffic report that we've submitted, I think that this application meets the standards of the statute. And ultimately, I'd ask that you approve it. Thanks.
Thank you. Comments from staff?
Yes, don't run away, Tom. Just one quick question before I give my report. The last report I have from the city engineer is dated March 18th. Did he re-review the changes that Mr. Wasmer made?
That's a good question.
Yes, he did. He emailed it to me as well as the whole staff. I can give you a copy of it here. Let me just read into it. It's a 3-page thing, but I'll just go to the very last comments.
Yeah, what's the date on it?
April 8th, 2019. My recommendations are as follows. A plan and profile has been provided for the main storm, sewer, and sanitary, so that was requested in his previous review. The plans have been revised to eliminate any conflicts of roof drains and or storm sewer crossing, sanitary laterals, or sanitary sewer line. Item C, water quality chambers are to be installed prior to the discharge of the stormwater into the galley systems. Item D, all catch basins are to be fitted with 4-foot sumps and siphon hoods. E, a maintenance and operation plan for stormwater treatment and mitigation system prepared by a licensed professional engineer has been provided. See drawing reference number 2 above. General comments, the city reserves rights to make additional comments on any other issue that may arise during construction. Necessary permits from the city of Milford Engineering Department for driveway, apron, sidewalk, and curb are to be obtained prior to construction or to be constructed in accordance with the City of Milford standards. Necessary permits from the City of Milford Engineering Department for any sewer work are to be obtained prior to construction. Bond may be required for work to be performed within the public right-of-way, soil and erosion control measures, and for common stormwater treatment and mitigation measures required for the development of the multiple 2 or more parcels. Feel free to contact me, Greg Pedlewski.
Okay, thank you. The applicant proposes to construct 15 units of housing, 5 affordable, on a 47,081 square foot lot located in the R12.5 zone. The side yards are a minimum of 10 feet, the rear yard is 25 feet, and the front yard is 47 feet, all meeting or exceeding the minimum standards in the zone. The applicant is proposing a new solid vinyl fence along the property lines with 39 Meadowside Road and 37 Lakeside Road. It is recommended that new vinyl fencing enclose the entire property. All the units have 1 interior and 1 exterior parking space. All units are 1 bedroom with a loft space. In addition to 2 parking spaces per unit, there are an additional 15 spaces provided for guests. The affordability and marketing plan has been reviewed and approved by Sheila Dravis, Milford's Fair Housing Officer. Sight lines from the driveway exceed the minimum requirements, prompting approval by the Police Commission, and as we heard this evening, also verified by the traffic study. I'm now going to give comments by the city engineer, which were based on his report, which was dated 3/18. And some of those items have been addressed, and some of the items are still the same in the report that was given to us tonight, dated 4/8/19. The city engineer recommends plan revisions which include remedying underground drainage structures conflicting with one another by crisscrossing one another. We heard this evening that that has been remedied. He's also requiring the installation of water quality chambers and that all catch basins are to be fitted with 4-foot sumps and siphon hoods. A maintenance and operation plan for stormwater treatment and mitigation will also need to be submitted to the satisfaction of the city engineer. Basically, if the board chooses to move a motion on this application this evening, I would just recommend that you make it conditional on both letters with both dates, the 3/18 date and the 4/8/19 date, which will comprehensively cover everything.
Questions from the board? Commissioner Sadi.
Thank you. Through you, Chairman, to Attorney Lynch, I guess. I did want to point out, if you could come up to the speaker's spot for a minute, please. We have access now to Dropbox. And the question I had is, in the paper packet, we didn't have that second letter from the city engineer. That was my first question. So apparently that somehow got to a part of us on a Dropbox, but it was not an original package. We were trying to find that other report. So that's just a comment, but I just want to bring that up. Second, I do have a question, though, that either to you or the transportation engineer. The transportation engineer's report, traffic consultant, excuse me, his report, is data from 2015, over 3.5 years ago. Why don't we have newer data?
Traffic counts have a shelf life of about 3 years. There's been no significant change in the volumes in the area. Our traffic report includes a projection to 2020, and we projected traffic at 4% a year growth, which is far in excess of what you have. So there's very nominal background traffic. The site generates very nominal traffic. When you crunch the numbers, which were estimated very highly, you still have excellent level of service, so it was not necessary.
But just, you know, I understand what you're saying, but there's 2 projects that have been approved in the area. One is not completed, and I don't think there's any even demolition yet, but one there's south of the intersection of Seaside and Meadowside. It's one of the projects that are been mentioned in the presentation. Would that not make an impact, the substantial number of new units there?
No, our numbers, we did a number of those traffic studies that you're talking about, and the base numbers that we started with, we add in the background traffic, and we projected the future traffic includes more than those other developments would generate. So they will have absolutely no impact on our conclusion that there's no capacity issue.
And what's the number of units that are put up just south of this intersection?
I'd have to look at my file. I can get back to you on that. I don't have everything memorized.
I'm really concerned about, you know, your representation. This is what the traffic study is going to be, and yet there's one project just south of this, and there's one project just north of this that could go up all at the same time, and that could change substantially.
Your planner can address how many units that is. We looked at all those projects.
11. If you're talking about the one at Seaside Avenue?
Yes.
11 units generates less than 10 trips per hour during peak hours.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, this is a public hearing. We ask that those who wish to speak this evening, please come forward and state your name as well as the spelling, along with your address. If anyone who is in favor or opposed to this application, please come forward. Seeing none, is there any reason why we cannot close this public hearing this evening? I will close the public hearing. Why we cannot vote on this public hearing this evening, or should we wait until our next meeting? Questions from the board? Any input? I would like to wait on this and have a full board and let them review it and have additional, if they have some additional insight on it. So I would like to wait on this until our next meeting, if that's okay.
I agree with the chair.
All right, thank you. Our next item on the agenda is the liaison reports. Any liaison reports this evening? Seeing none, our next item is Regulation Subcommittee. Any comment on Regulation Subcommittee? Mr. Grant isn't here this evening. Our next item is the approval of minutes from 4/2/2019.
Motion to approve the minutes.
You have a motion? You have a second? All in favor? Anyone opposed? So moved. Chair's report this evening. I see there's a 7 Merritt and 15 Moretta lot line adjustment that was signed April 2nd, 2019. Any comment from staff on this?
When the chair signs a Mylar, he's required to report it to the board, and that's what's happening. So Chairman Quish signed off on a lot line adjustment between these lots.
There's no vote needed for it.
No vote needed, no.
Thank you. Staff reports.
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Have a motion for adjournment. Second. So meeting's adjourned.